since you got settled, stand. Let's lift our hands and invite the Lord into our class. And then I'm going to get out of the way and let my sister pick up where she left off last night. How many of you enjoyed last night? Wasn't it interesting? I very much enjoyed it. And I mentioned to my wife that there was a profound statement, and this is just mine, that Janet made that it's obvious, but I missed it, is the idea that we as adults look back on our childhood, whether it's an abuse situation or just something much more minor than that. And we look at it from an adult mind. And we look at what we did, or we look at the choices that we made, and we look at it with the adult mind. And that was profound to realize, wait a minute, you cannot judge what you did based upon where you're at now. You've got to somehow get back to where were you then. Now that's an imperfect science, but that was profound. That's going to help some people. I'm going to hold on to that little nugget. So I hope you had a few nuggets last night, a few aha moments. Nick and Renee are probably getting a whole bunch of info. They're about to find out that little baby in that womb is going to, oh boy. Nicholas, you're almost too old to be a father. I'm going to be praying for you. You're going to be a granny. You're going to be a granny daddy. I'm going to have to pray. You're going to be a granny daddy. You're almost like Art and Lil. I know. I'm well aware. But a lot of good info there that'll help you out. And help you out in expectations of, oh man. And Regina even said to me last night, she's like, well, some of those things I'm still not making peace with, but at least I know that it's normal they're going through it, even though I'm going, no, you're not keeping that thing you stole from your friend. And Janet said that to you multiple times. Not everything in there, just because it's normal, means you say, well, okay, you're a little kleptomaniac right now. We'll hold on to that hat. That's probably about the stage when I took that hat. You remember that, Dad? It fell right in there. They held up a hat and nobody claimed it. And I said, it's mine. Just a black toboggan hat, and I just wanted it, and so I brought it home. And anyway, let's ask the Lord to be in our class tonight. Can we do it? Jesus, we love you tonight. Thank you, Lord, for a good day of fellowship. And God, we bless your name. God, let your Spirit be in our midst now, Lord. God, touch us, minister to us. Help us, Lord, in our focus, Lord, and let us continue to learn and to grow. Thank you for your love and your care for us. I worship you and I praise you, Jesus. You're an awesome God, Lord, and I love you. In Jesus' name. Now turn to two neighbors, shake their hand vigorously, and say, stay awake.
All right, if I see too much yawning, I'm going to have Steve just keep kicking the air down and down and down, because, if you sit here and we just ate and then it gets warm, I already told him when I heard about the potluck and then doing this, you're going to make me be up here jumping around and doing somersaults. The timing is not good. I used to teach some classes at Michigan State, and I taught them at the 120 classes, and it was not good. You got kids that are, it is nap time. So, all right, we're going to pick up where we left off last night. I already made this statement before, but unfulfilled expectations lead to disappointment. That's in every area of our life. When I go into my office and I click that light switch to come on and it doesn't come on, I am greatly disappointed. It also means the air's not working, and at 100 degrees, it's not a pleasant thing. I've had that happen twice. The other one was just 2 weeks ago. And do you think my clients mind? Not at all, because they don't have to sit there for 45 minutes in that heat. But when I see 5 of them, it's not 45 minutes. And they're like, oh, I'm good. I don't mind. Oh, but I do. Okay, I'm sweating to death. My hair goes up. And they're like, oh, I've never seen your hair up. Yes, because it's 100 degrees in here. And so it was warm. So we all have these expectations, and we are disappointed when those expectations don't happen. Whether we're dating someone and we think, something's going to work out there, or if it's our kids and we have certain thoughts about what they're going to do, what they aren't going to do, it kind of floors us at times. And so it leads to disappointment. Now, what we do with the disappointment, that's on us, right? We could get sad, we could cry, we could laugh, we could be mad, we're going to deal with the disappointment. So we just want to recognize, okay, what I'm actually feeling is disappointment, and then I decide where to go with that. It's not, no, it just makes me angry, or no, it just makes me sad, or no, it makes me really depressed. It made you disappointed. Then you're making a choice from there. So we want to back those up when we feel disappointed, okay? It disappoints me that Sarah can sit there and last year, do 280 verses in 20 minutes and get at that buzzer and not hit once. That's a disappointment. But I decide what I do with that disappointment. And I just go, oh, she's like her dad. Don't get mad at her dad. She's like her dad. Don't get mad at him. That's how I deal with that. I blame him. Oh, she gets up in front of people and she can't talk. Okay? That's her daddy in her. So we can have that. She's trying. She actually tried really hard because she really wanted one of those 3D DSs. And she'd go up there and quiz. And in the first quiz, she hit a couple. Is that right? 2, 3? How many? See, she won't even talk in front of you guys. She had to hold up fingers. 3. She had 3. She goes, was that enough? Was that enough for a 3D DS? I don't know if I'm saying it right, but 3DS. See? 3DS. I was putting too many D's in there. 3DS. Okay. And I said, no. Okay, so she got up there in the next quiz. How many did you hit then? 2. She had 2. Then the question was, okay, was that enough? We haven't won yet, so no, it's not enough. But, so we can encourage. But disappointment, one reason to learn about what to expect from our kids is so we can avoid some of the disappointment. We're not setting ourselves up. And it doesn't mean, yes, we buy into, okay, I guess from 6 to 8 they're just not showering. No, we don't do that because they have to. But when we face resistance, it's just not, we don't go to the, what's wrong with you? Why do you do this to me? It's not to you. It's because that's their age and that's what they do. So we want to deal with that. It is this whole idea that their attitudes and what they want out of life could be very different than ours. And so if they have different expectations than our expectations, then how do we line those two up? So if you got up here, God bless mom and dad, grant them the power to anticipate my every need and the means to fulfill them. That would kind of be every kid's prayer, Let mom and dad take care of me and give me everything I want. Now, is that a selfish child? No, because kids are what? They're egocentric. That's how they're going to think. So that's not a selfish child. We would expect that. So that's where the training comes in, because we need to train them to think differently. I sat there with someone, a teenager, young teenager, 13, I think, and 12 or 13. And she was just mad at God. I've lost my faith. I'm very mad at God. I've lost all my confidence in him because he didn't do what I wanted him to do. Now, it's realistic that her wishes, because she wanted her dad to be part of her life, not bad expectations. But guess what? Dad didn't want to be part of her life. Dad's in church too. A different church, one of our churches. But he did not want to maintain contact with her. Or he wanted to do it when he wanted to. So, I'll take you to breakfast once a month or something along those lines. But she's mad at God. And I had to sit there and look at her and go, okay, who should God listen to? You or your dad? Why are your wishes more important than your dad's? Now, that sounds sad, right? Because we think, well, it's his response. Why wouldn't he want to be with her? But the reality is, don't blame God. God's not going to force him to do it. Right? We got God in the middle. But there's going to be different expectations, whether the child's are a little bit more in line and stable than the adults. And we face that, right? Sometimes we have adults that are making poor choices. But they're going to be different. When we learn about the different stages, then we can deal with them differently. And so we don't want to, as a parent, do we want to meet our child's every need? Depends on how you look at it, right? Depends on their age. If you look at Sophia, yes, definitely. We meet baby needs. Do we want to meet Vincent's every need? Definitely not. Right? No way. Because then that handicaps him. He needs to meet some of his own needs, and he needs to learn what it is to not have everything and not wanting, even need. I know Regina was talking about, I got to go buy him new pants. He's going to a conference, and he can't wear those because he's, that whole growing real tall, and okay. Too bad we don't wear knickers anymore, He'd be in good shape. All those pants, they hit him just right now. So some needs. Yeah. Get them. If you were in Texas, we'd just get you some boots. Nobody'd know your pants are too short. So, it's like, what are the needs? And how do we... They'd last 2 months. Yeah, you buy new boots, but only one pair of boots. Not several pair of pants, right? Okay, so we look at that. Effective parenting. What we want to do is you need to nurture your child, okay? Just like the materials that we put into constructing a house are important, we can go cheapo. It's the same as what's the materials we're putting into raising our children. And so we want to consider that. Am I going the cheapo way? Am I going luxury? What am I putting into them? And it doesn't mean just buying stuff. It really comes down to time. There's been a lot of research on the whole, and back in, I don't know, probably, it ages me. I think it's the 80s, where it was saying, it's not quantity of time, it's quality. We heard that? But it's quality, not quantity. No, it's not. It's both. Because if you spend an hour of quality time once a week with your child, it is not sufficient. It would be a whole lot better for you to spend an hour every day and there not be the quality, but you have the quantity. The quality would be you're sitting there playing on your phone or your computer, or you're distracted. Or you're doing, like Samantha's dad used to come and pick her up and take her to the driving range. Well, that's not quality time for her. She'd sit there while he's hitting balls, okay? Not so much quality time, but it was quantity. It is. We need to have both. We need quantity and quality. And so it's, when I say materials, don't just think buying them stuff. In fact, that's why that one was in there before. We don't want to buy them everything. That's not a good thing. And so we want to look at, what am I putting in here? How am I nurturing them? I don't think Samantha stopped sitting in my lap until she was probably 17. I don't even know. She'd come and just sit on my lap. She was big by then. But Sarah still sits on my lap. When am I supposed to tell her, don't? She's like, can I just sit on you? Okay. And I move everything off of me because I usually have a computer or something there. And so I move it off and she sits on me. But that's nurturing. We want to nurture. We want to be attentive to their needs. So we want to provide that. We want to show affection. We want to communicate affirmation. If you guys were here the last time, we talked about how you provide affirmation. And remember, Corey asked that really great question of, but what if you don't agree? And affirmation is an agreement, right? It's just showing that you understand where they're coming from. It's an understanding. It's I acknowledge that you feel the way you do feel. So we provide that affirmation. It's kind of, Sarah has fish. Well, and she used to have 2 frogs. Frog 1 lasted a few days, and frog 1 was floating. She was very upset. What? Oh, he sunk? Sorry. He sunk. He was laying on the bottom like this, she said. Okay, he sunk. And then frog 2, it was like maybe a month, and then a week, and then frog 2. Okay, then she's really upset. And then one of her fish, he's floating. Fish floated? Okay. But she's getting like all, and I said, Sarah, okay, I understand. I know it's hard to lose a fish. And I understand you're really disappointed. But if you're going to have fish, we kind of need to change this a little bit, because fish aren't like dogs. If you lose a dog, you can cry for weeks, okay? But it's a fish. A little fish. They don't live very long. They just don't. But I don't go, oh, it's a fish. Give it here. I'll flush it. So you give some affirmation and some comfort, but then you pull it into reality too. And we know, like a dog or a cat, you're more attached to them. But I think, why have dogs and cats? Why should kids have dogs and cats? Well, they learn from that. They're learning to take care of some responsibility and all that, but they're also learning how to deal with some loss and grief, and things aren't permanent, and disappointment. And so we give affirmation, but it's not like, oh, this is horrible. But we want to affirm their feelings. So we provide that. We want to give them attention, and we want to put a lot of effort into building confidence. We want to teach them how to face challenges with confidence early in life. Does it mean if I try something and I don't succeed, I should never try again? Well, how would a kid do that? Because most of us, if we try it and we're not successful, we want to quit. I don't want to do that again. Or if we get embarrassed, if it doesn't work out for us. But as a child, we want to acknowledge their embarrassment, acknowledge how they're feeling. We don't want to just blow it off as, oh, big deal, it was only this, okay? I remember Samantha's first, I think it was a C, and she got in the car. She was, I think, 5th grade. I picked her up, and she got in the car, and she's like, and she handed me this piece of paper. It was all crumpled up. I'm like, she goes, I got a C. And she's just all upset and bawling. And then we had to talk. That's a good thing, talk. And it came out during that discussion that she thought I had straight A'd everything, from elementary school all the way through my PhD. Actually, I was only through master's at that point. She thought that her mama got A's on everything. I went home, I pulled out transcripts. I pulled out because I have my report cards from high school. And I showed her. No, that's going to happen sometimes. Keep it in perspective. It's really great that it is a disappointment that you're having high expectations of yourself, right? We want our kids to have high expectations. We don't want them to get discouraged, but we want to normalize it. It's going to happen sometimes. And if you can figure out maybe why you got that C, that helps. Oh, well, I didn't study, I didn't do this. Okay, well, then you're in full control of it, right? There's a thing out there called attribution theory. What do we attribute our successes and our failures to? Okay? And to put it in a nutshell, really simplistic here, it's looking at when I do something, do I see it as it has to do with what's inside me or outside me? So intrinsic or extrinsic, okay? Do I see it as something that's stable? It'll just continue as it is. And do I see it as do I have any control? Is it controllable or uncontrollable? We know in general that when it comes to males, okay, boys, when they succeed, they say, aren't I great? Hi, I got it. I'm the cool dude. I can do this. I'm in control, and I'm always going to be there. And when they fail, when they lose at something, they tend to go, it was her fault. It was their fault. I had a rotten teacher. It was a rotten test. It was a stupid book. It was whatever, okay? They blame it on something else, and I'll take care of that next time, okay? They still feel in control. They can do something about it. Females, on the other hand, in general, they will attribute their successes externally. Oh, I had a good teacher. It was an easy test. Things flowed, whatever. And that part, even if they do take responsibility for that, it's really the failures that we need to be aware of. When females fail, they blame themselves. I'm no good, I can't do it, I'll never be able to do it. That is one reason there's such a push for math and science with girls, because they tend to give up really early. As soon as they can't do it, I can't do it. I'm not good at math, I can't do math. How many females in here have ever said, oh no, I just can't do math? And it tends to be more with females than males. Males might not be any better, okay, but they don't attribute it the same way. They tend to have more of their motivation tends to be a lot better. They'll say, oh, I'll figure this out, I know I can do this, I'll do something else. Females just accept it as it is what it is. I'm just no good at it. So with males and, our boys and girls, we want to keep that in mind, because we have to address that and not let them get stuck there. And if any kid gets stuck there, what they're attributing their failures to, if they internalize it, I have no control over it, it's stable, and it's in me, they're seeing they can't do nothing about it. Or if they attribute success to, it was just luck. Luck is very unstable, right? And very uncontrollable. We don't want them attributing their success to luck. Well, I was just lucky. We want to acknowledge what they did and how they put effort into it, and that they can change it if it needs to be changed, and that they have some control over it. We don't want to fall into what's called learned helplessness. We want this attitude of industriousness, meaning I can do it. Now, sometimes that can come and bite you, okay? I know I took some classes in my undergrad, and back then we didn't have computers, and I would just take a class because it fit my schedule and it sounded interesting, and I'd skip the prereqs. One of those classes was existentialism. I walked in, I skipped the 2 prereqs, and the teacher was sitting on his desk, and they started talking in that class, and I was totally lost. They were talking about Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance, and I'm thinking, what do motorcycles have to do with this? It's a horrible book, don't ever read it. We had to read it, but don't ever read it. But it has nothing to do with practicality. It's all philosophy, and it's all fluff is what I call it, and I'm not a fluffy kind of person. I don't think fluff. So I had a really hard time in there, but my attitude was, I can do this. And that was one of the classes I did get a C in. Even though I worked really hard, I couldn't do it. But it's good. It didn't discourage me. I still think, I can do whatever I set my mind out to. Just sometimes when it's just not matching up for me, it's okay. So it's teaching how to, to have that attitude of industriousness, but also how to handle it if it doesn't work out. It's all okay. We're not going to be good at everything in life. Doesn't mean we give up. And so we want to teach them that. So how we define ourselves does influence our motivations, okay? And that's where the attribution feeds in big time to our motivation. How much energy am I going to put into something? Because if I think it's all due to luck, or if it's due to some outside of me, or I have no control over it, my motivation has just hit the bottom. I'm not even going to really try. And they can go, I tried. But if they keep saying to you, I just can't do it, I can't. And you keep going, yes, you can, that's not going to help. You got to have more conversation than that. Tell me why you think you can't. What about this do you think you can't do? How do we help that? How do we change that? Do you think that could ever change? Do you think that, they're in some other universe, would you be able to do this? Have really strange questions for them. Teenager, what is a teenager's typical answer to any question? Come on, Lil, you can do that one. What do they say? You ask Tina a question, what does she say? I don't know. Exactly. I saw you go, I don't know. That's what they say. Turn around and say to them, okay, well, just suppose you did know. What would you say? But I don't know. I know you don't know. I hear you saying you don't know. But let's just suppose you did know. Let's just pretend you did know. What would your answer be then? And it's amazing. They can come up with something. And you might think, but if they really don't know. No, they know. They're just not talking. Corey's got a big smile on his face. He knows. He's like, I know. We're just not talking. We just say, I don't know, because that's easier. I don't know. I don't know. You know, you can watch. And even with adults, okay, if I started asking a question and we start over here and he says, I don't know, and she says, I don't know, or if let's say he gives me an answer and Becky gives me an answer, Nick gives me an answer, Renee goes, I don't know. Okay? We'll skip Steve because he's an eyeball. And then we go to Regina and she goes, her likelihood of saying, I don't know, has just increased because I accepted that from Renee. Now she's going to see, why should I give an answer that could be right or wrong when I can say I don't know, and that's safe? So teenagers will take that safety exit, that route, as often as they can. I don't know. So just say, okay, well, let's suppose you did know. I know you don't know. I heard you, but just pretend you did. Let's say you were someone else. What would you say then? So you keep trying. But it's going to affect our motivations, our attitudes, our behaviors, and it affects our emotional adjustment. So we need to look at how kids are defining themselves. What do they attribute their successes to? What do they attribute their failures to? Who are they comparing themselves to? We really want that comparison going this way, not this way. Okay? It's very natural. Even as adults, we tend to go this way. We want it this way. God sees everybody different and the same at the same time, right? All right, so you have to realize that you are a mirror. You are going to reflect back to them a lot of things about who they are. And I've talked about being a mirror before. You can see those funny mirrors at carnivals at the kids' place, that clothing place, kids' place. They have the mirrors in their dressing room. You go in there and it distorts your body. It can make you really tall and thin. Those ones aren't so bad. The ones can make you really short and fat. Don't like them so much. They can take your face and do this, right? They used to. Remember when you heard about the whole scam in ladies' dressing rooms that they put those mirrors in there that made us look thinner? And we'd buy stuff and we'd get home and go, man, this didn't look like this I made at the store. Because, shave 20 pounds on any of us, and we think we look a little better. So we have to realize that we can get a distortion, and we do not want to keep that distortion because then we reflect a distorted image to our children. You are their mirror. And the first 4 years of life, you are their only mirror. It will start coming in as far as siblings, but it's primarily parents. You are mirroring back to them who they are, what's important to them, what are their strengths, all this kind of stuff. So you want to remember that you're their mirror. You're reflecting back to them this image. And so you want to model a healthy self-esteem for yourself. Show your children that you can laugh at yourself. It's a big thing. Do you know I can trip if I'm walking on flat surface? I can. I fall down. The last time was probably only like a year ago. I fall down in front of people. One time I fell, I think I mentioned to you guys, I was at the bowling alley. I stepped over that line. It's really slippery. I went and landed. And then I tried to get up. Oh my goodness. It's really, it's really, I rolled over and I got a skirt on. I'm trying to get up and I'm slipping. Jack and Samantha are just frozen up there going, we don't know what to do. Do we help her? Is she going to yell at us if we help her? Do we not help her? We don't know what to do. I don't know that they could have had a good choice. The one they picked of not helping, I didn't think was the correct one. But you have to laugh at yourself. I hurt myself. I was working on something and I went, bang! I stabbed myself with a screwdriver right there. Okay? I do goofy stuff. I was ripping up carpet using a hammer, using that, not the best. I don't have the right tools. I just do the work. I rip it up, bang, hit myself right there. I get black eye. You know. I do stuff. You got to laugh at yourself. I was out playing putt-putt with all the quizzers. Oh, you know those greens aren't level. I have a hard enough time with flat. I tripped. I fell down. I bounced. It wasn't funny. One of the moms goes, "Oh, Sister Kenny, sister, are you okay?" "Oh, I'm good. It's just me falling down again." "I'm good." So we got to laugh at ourselves. We got to point out the really ridiculous stuff we do. Caleb got on me just a little bit about that picture I used. I said, "Caleb, that was a really good representation of you. You are a goofy kid. You like being goofy. That showed your whole personality." He goes, "Yeah, I guess you're right." See, now he's doing this. But he said, "Yeah, you're right. I am goofy." He likes being goofy. And it was Vince. Vince was the responsible guy. You know, it's them. We ought to laugh at ourselves. So show your kids you can laugh even when you're embarrassed. Even, it's not horrible. We can choose to get angry, but just laugh about it. It's not a big deal. We need to tend to what we are modeling to them. We want to nurture their own self-esteem. You got to nurture yours in order to nurture them. If you have a good self-esteem, and if you've heard me before, there's no reason not to. Who in here is not a Christian? I don't see any hands up, because that would be the only person that could question their self-esteem. Because if you're a Christian, your identity is in Christ, and there's no room for you. You don't have to worry about yourself. We're good. We're created in His image. So why am I worrying about my self-esteem? Oh, I feel like I'm a horrible person. No. Get rid of that. Like, nope. I'm too fat. I'm too whatever. Nope. I'm a Christian. I am who I am. Yes, I need to be healthy. Yes, I need to, have a healthy lifestyle and eat properly and all that good stuff and take care of my skin and dress appropriately. But I'm me. I'm not going to be Regina. I'm not going to be Sister Lil. I could all day long go, "Oh man, my sister's 6 foot. If I was taller." It's not going to happen. So it's like, except I'm in Christ. I'm a Christian. I don't have any room for poor self-esteem. And I definitely don't want to pass that on to my kids. If I say I don't like myself, that's what they're hearing. We are modeling to them. So go ahead and say that around your girls, and then when they're 12 and they have an eating disorder, and you know why. And you can point that finger right at yourself. Oh, what did I do to them? Make comments about, "Oh, I can't eat that. Oh, no, Just, if you're not going to eat it, don't eat it, but don't make a comment. Don't put yourself down. And as guys, too, it's just, what are you showing? Whether you're teaching your boys and your girls what's important. And it truly isn't how much we weigh or how tall we are or how much we can lift. So you need to nurture your self-esteem and be good, because then you're setting a good foundation for them. Okay. We really do model. So it really doesn't work to say, do what I say and not what I do. Like I talked about last night. My mom smoked. How is she going to turn around and go, "Don't you do it"? I don't think Sarah has ever even thought about smoking. I know Samantha didn't, and Samantha was exposed to her dad, but it was, when you grow up in a home, if there's smoking going on, guess what? Your kids are going to be more likely to smoke. If you can't go, "Well, getting drunk, that's an adult thing." They're not going to hear that. They're going to normalize that behavior, and they're going to want to do because they look up to you and you're their idol. We know from research that, yes, kids will be influenced, especially as teenagers. They'll be influenced by other peers when it comes to their hairstyle and their dress. But not the stuff that really matters. And that comes down to drug use, college, careers, belief systems. It's the parents that really, really set it. The kids want your approval. They're not going to act like it as teenagers. They're going to, whatever. Oh, you're so out of touch. But they do. They want your approval. As a teenager, Samantha snuck off and went to a movie with a bunch of other kids from church, okay? But that was something we didn't do. We didn't go to movies. And that's changed for a lot of people and places, and electronics and all that kind of stuff has changed. But back then, we didn't go to movies. And at least I didn't. I still don't. It's just something for me. But she had went to a movie, and then we found a ticket stub and confronted her, and she lied. Because if you get in your face and I'll say, Brother Owen, did you eat that chicken? He wants to inside go, no, even if he did. Did you do it? Because we avoid, getting in trouble. She's mad at me. He's like, I ate the macaroni. I didn't eat the chicken. Okay. So, but if we confront our natural instinct, and that's with our bosses or anybody in authority, that's when we get confronted. Our natural human instinct is to lie. Okay? And like Steve said, some things it just is because of the brokenness. But we want to avoid getting in trouble. We want to avoid someone being mad at us. So if you confront a child and you ask them directly, did you do this? I know parents that will watch their kid do something and say, did you color on that wall? No. Yes, you did. I just watched you. Well, who's the stupid one here? The one asking the child if they did it when you just watched them do it, or the child that's lying? Which one's a little smarter? The child. It's like if you know your kid did it, then you don't ask them. Jack and I always know who did it in our house. Always. We don't have to ask. Sarah, did you do this? I don't think Jack did it, So it's like, I know Sarah did it. So I'll just say, Sarah, clean up your mess in the kitchen. Or, Sarah, go pick that up. Sarah, you left this laying around. I know it was her. I don't have to say, Sarah, did you do it? And then she'd go, no, it's not my mess. Now, she could try that. When she's younger, she would try to blame it on her dad. Or for her dad, she'd try to blame it on me. But we knew, okay? So we could say, Sarah, go clean up that mess. Oh, it's not my mess. Sarah, go clean up the mess. It's not my mess. I don't care whose mess it is. Go clean up the mess. See, I don't have to have that discussion with her. It's mute. It doesn't matter. You're going to clean it up, even if your dad, by some chance, made the mess. Guess who's cleaning it up? Sarah is. And it's harder when you have 5, okay? Because they could get into, oh, no, Caleb did it. No, Cassandra did it. No, Candace did it. We know Vincent didn't, So that you can get into that. But you don't want to set them up to lie. If you already know it, then just know it. If you have a really good inkling, just know it. Don't ask. Say it. I know you went to the movie. You told me you were going here. Give me your car keys for a week. It'd be that easy. Okay. So we don't want to set them up. And so when we model stuff, though, we have to realize they're going to do what we do, not what we say. Jack tells me stories about when he went to kindergarten. He was losing recess all the time. And I think I mentioned this before. He'd get in trouble. And he's 5, and he had no idea why he was getting in trouble. But he was swearing. He didn't know he was swearing. How was he supposed to know that was a word you didn't use and, that 5-year-olds didn't say? Because that's how his dad talked. Probably how his mom talked, but it was his dad at that point. He didn't know. He'd go to school. He'd use that in the language, And then you lose your recess. It didn't take him too long to catch on to what words. I guess can't say that. But they're going to model, and it's not funny. I remember I think it was Samantha when she was 2. She got her toe caught on something, and she pulled, and this swear word came out of her mouth. This pre-church, but her grandparents thought, and her grandfather and her dad thought it was so funny. And I thought it was really sad. It's like, no. So watch what you're modeling. Be attentive to it. All right. We want children to feel, as far as, what we mirror to them, what we really want them to feel and know is you're a very special person. There's only one of you in the world. You are lovable, capable, and competent. You are smart and talented. Your parents would do anything to protect you. You are a child of God and you are important to Him. You are so important to God that He will never leave you nor forsake you. That's what we want to model. That's what we want to mirror back to them. Some people, some parents I hear about, use God as a tool for discipline. And they'll make comments like, God's not very happy with you right now. God's not smiling at you right now. Or really bad, you keep doing that, you're going to hell. That's horrible. We don't want to use God as a tool to discipline our kids. We don't want them to even think that way. So we want this solid. What is smart? What is talented? Does that mean I need to be able to play the violin like Sister Regina does? I hope not, because then I have no talent. Does that mean everybody has to get a PhD like Stephen did? No. It's all different. And your kids will be different. Right? A lot of kids suffer because they're doing a comparison thing with another sibling. They don't compare their weaknesses. They compare the other child's strength. And they lack in that area, or they don't have it as much in that area. And then they hold on to that. And so when you have multiple children, you got to pull out on their strengths. Even if it's a simple thing. Yeah, I remember Samantha was like 11 or 12. And she was so upset because she was larger than her best friend, Sarah, of the same age. And I turned to her and I go, yeah, but she didn't have any boobs. That's all I had to say. She was 12. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, you're not as thin, but, And I wouldn't have said that to Sarah. I would have said, yeah, but you're thinner. So it's like, what's important to a child at that age? And that's, again, where it comes back to. That's not going to be, if it was Cassandra, that wouldn't make any difference to her. But at 12, that's knowing what's important. So it was okay. It's okay that I'm a little bigger because I got them. Okay. So we want them to feel this in whatever we need to do. So knowing your child, reinforcing stuff. You're smart, you're talented in your way. All right. We do not want everything to be tied into external stuff, okay? So may I remind you that my core worth as a human being remains constant and isn't tied to external validation. The child just gave the mom the report card. Okay. So grades, I do not necessarily think it's wrong to pay your child for good grades, but the good grades could speak for themselves. And the way the good grades speak for themselves then is having what it does for me that I'm really happy that I got one, okay? Or I got 2, or I got 3. But again, it's knowing your child. And there's so much competition and shifting and teachers that might not know what they're doing and they just post the A grades instead of your best work. Best thing of a teacher can do is say, give me your best work and we'll post that on the board. Because her best work may be different than his best work, which would be different than her best work, right? because maybe she got a C and he got an A and she got a A plus. So it's like, what's your best? And so we want to encourage internal reinforcement. Them being proud of, if I did, like the existential class, believe me, I remember it. Could I name the rest of my classes? No. I can name the classes that I did get a C in throughout my college career. And there were 3. And I could tell you all 3 of them. Could I tell you all the rest of my classes? Could I tell you the classes that I 4-pointed? Not in your life. And there weren't too many that I got B's in. I can tell you those 3 I got C's in. But I recognize that about myself. So the best parenting style is one that is authoritative, okay? Which is characterized by 3 things: high expectations, loving support, fair rules. It is open then to have some discussion, okay? We're offering support. We have high expectations, but they're realistic expectations. It doesn't mean you have to 4-point everything or get an A in everything. Challenge yourself. Take a class that you can get a C in, that you might only be able to get a C in. Do you know how many students I see from UT? UT, you have to be in the top 10%, and they're looking at a 3.7, I think, or 6 to even get into UT. That you graduate, and you have to be in the top 10% of your school graduating class. Okay, so now you're taking all these kids that were top 10%, and you're putting them all together. You think they're all getting A's? Uh-uh. But what happens if you've always gotten A's and now you're getting C's? That's a huge mental adjustment. You better keep it in perspective, or you're seeing me. A lot of them are coming, okay? Because it's tearing them up. But because they weren't taught to face challenges. Nick, you ever have a class that you got a C in? Nope. See, he can't even relate. You need to go back to school. Take a class that really super challenges you. No, I'm kidding you. You got a C? Oh, Stephen and his master's. See, I have 4-point in my master's, so.
But I only got 1 C in my whole life. You got 3.
I got 3. See, and we could go back and forth, and I can say, yeah, but I was working full-time and totally supporting myself and paying for my school and my undergrad. Oh. 395. Yeah, but I had a child during my PhD. So we can keep going. Didn't actually carry and give birth. Okay, so we can keep doing that. But we don't, and that's what you want to teach your kids. You don't have to. You don't have to come up with excuses for it. One of those C's I got was because I cheated. I had a 4-point, and instead of kicking me out of school, he gave me a 2-point. Because he made attendance mandatory, and so I didn't think I needed to attend his class. So I had someone sign me in. I wasn't really in attendance. So when I went to high school with. So yes. Do I regret that? Sure do. Did I learn from it? Sure did. Did I ever make attendance mandatory in any college class that I taught? Sure didn't. So life experiences, but it comes in. But what we want to teach kids is that when you don't do, where you're used to doing, that's okay. Because you want to look at what was your process, what was your effort. What did you get out of that? Because that's so much more important than the end result. Sarah often just wants to give me the answers to her math problems, and I say, I want to see your work. I don't care about if you get the right answer. I want to see if you know how to do it. Show me how you got there. So what we're teaching kids, we want them to learn process, and so that's what we reinforce, how much effort they put in, how creative they were in getting there, how well they were problem solving, how much they were using critical thinking skills. All of that, and it starts really young. And so we're looking at, we don't want it just to be external about, oh, you got the A, that's great. Oh, you did this. With kids, grades are a huge thing. So we also want to look at that we want to accept them for who they are. Our children will be a little different than us. It says, is it me or do today's kids let their shells hang a little low? Okay. So we want to still be modest. We need to have some standards. But then we need to allow them to do some things that they like to do because the generation changes. I met one of Samantha's friends in college. They came to one of Sarah's birthday parties when I think she was 2. And this sounds really rude. I'm not really a rude person. But I said to her, did you pay very much to have your hair done that way? And she loved me from that because I was very open. She knew I wasn't rude. But she's like, no. And I said, well, that's kind of a good thing, isn't it? But she did. We connected. I wouldn't usually say that to people, okay? So don't worry. I'm going to, but it just did. It was one of her friends, and she's like, I just love your mom. Okay. So I feel it out, who I can talk bluntly with. But sometimes it's like, why? We went out to the lake, and my nephew, Joshua, has colored his hair. And okay. So we need to accept some things that they're going to do, some ways that they dress, some things we don't like. I know we got ready to go somewhere, and Sarah had one of my old T-shirts on, meaning old as in it doesn't fit me anymore, so it's not as big as me. And so she had one of them on. And I said, Sarah, you can't look like that. She goes, why? I'm just dressing like Caleb. I'm like, yes, but you're my little girl. You're not a boy, so go put on something that fits you better. I don't care if you dress like that around the house. Okay. So we have to accept some of that. And so we look in Romans 12:10. It says, love each other as brothers and sisters and honor others more than you do yourselves. Okay? When you understand and accept yourself, it helps you to understand and accept others. That goes for our kids as well. Not just other adults, not our spouses, just, it helps with it. It comes to our kids. How you feel about self influences how you treat others. Okay? If I have a lens here. If I feel horrible about myself, I'm going to see things. I'm going to interpret people's comments to me in a much different light than if I like myself, I feel confident in myself, I have, I'm very stable. Because if I feel insecure, then I'm going to take their comments as reinforcing that in some way, and I twist it. It's just a bent on it. And nowadays with electronics, you could really put that bent on there because you don't even have tone and inflection and what they're doing with their face and all that stuff. So you can twist it. And it's the same words, so you can't deny, no, I didn't say those words. Yes, that's exactly what I said, but you're taking it out of context. That's not how I meant it. And you have to realize, will you hold this for me? I'll stand close to you. Here. All right. You have to realize that sometimes people have this thing going on. They have this problem, they have this problem. These two people come together, they talk, they use the same language. They're using the same words. But they mean something totally different. And so they think they're communicating, they think they're on the same page, and they're not. They have this problem, they have this problem, and they're not the same problem. It's just we have a shared language. And so sometimes you want to realize that when you're talking to your kids, where they're coming from and where you're coming from, you might be using the same language, but it means something totally different. My husband and I, he'll say, oh man, we have problems communicating. We have the same words, but different meanings. We can draw different conclusions. The two of them, they do really well together. They think, I'll ask him a question, and he'll interpret it something different, and I'll ask her, and she'll say it the same way. I'm like, oh my goodness, you two are the same. I'm the oddball here. So you want to look at, how do I feel about myself? How am I? I need to love myself so I can love other people. I need to respect myself so I can respect them. And so if we look at Romans 12:10, love each other as brothers and sisters and honor others more than you do yourselves. Does that extend to our children? Are they our possessions? Like Steve was saying, are we seeing them as, no, I brought you in, I can take you out. How are we seeing them? Are we honoring them? Are we showing them respect? Are we dismissing them because we can? And just like I talked with as far as parents, we can treat our spouse worse than we can treat anybody else in the whole world because it's safe to do that. But it doesn't mean it's right to do that. And it might be safe, it's safe because our kids aren't going to leave us, but it doesn't make it right. So we want to think about that. There's no substitute for that parent-teen relationship. And it's not going to start when they're teens. It will only start when they're younger. You build it. There are so many adults that they really didn't know their parent because maybe their mom was cleaning all the time or their dad was working all the time. They don't remember ever playing with their parents. Just hanging out, just chatting, just laughing, just cutting up. They took care of. But nothing's going to replace that. And so with the parent-teen relationship, we want a sense of connection that provides a backdrop against which everything else can take place, all their other interactions. So it's that acceptance, it's that accountability. And when I say acceptance, I don't mean accept everything they're doing. Hold them accountable, hold them responsible. Put it back on them, like I used the example. His dad said if Stephen was smoking pot at 16, then he's ruining the relationship. So that accountability and responsibility can be there. The whole thing, and I mentioned as far as Samantha lying about going to the movie, she did lie. And I said, okay, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to believe what you're telling me, that you did not go. Did I know she went? Definitely. I had the ticket stub. But I said, okay, our relationship is solid enough that I will trust and believe what you're telling me. How long do you think it was till she came back and told me she'd lied to me? Not long at all. I think that was Saturday night, and by Sunday afternoon, she came and said, Mom, I got to talk to you. I lied to you. She did that one other time when she was actually in grad school. And I'd called her on something, not intentionally did I realize I was calling her on something, but I did. And she denied it. And I knew she wasn't, and I said, okay, I'm going to trust you, because that's our relationship. And again, it wasn't more than an hour, and she texted me, emailed me and said, oh, I guess I'm like Sarah, I'm telling lies. I said, no, you're not like Sarah, because Sarah's only 3 or 4. You're an adult, and our relationship is stronger than that. So there's accountability there. And the reason I can remember those 2 situations is because that's the only 2 situations that I know that Samantha ever lied to me. Because we had a good relationship. It was strong and it was solid. And when she was a sophomore in high school, she called me from school one day and said, Mom, I'm just calling to see if I can skip class. I skipped classes in high school. I guarantee you I never called and asked. She called and said, I was just wondering. I said, well, who are you going with? And she told me, what are you going to do? We're going to walk around town. And I said, well, the police will pick you up for truancy. We lived in Grand Ledge. I said, Grand Ledge police, they're not going to let you get away with that. They're all around that high school. They're going to pick you up. You can't do that. And really, that's something you do once you're a junior or a senior. She said, okay. I picked her up from school that day. I said, so did you skip earlier? And she goes, no. I said, did the other kids skip? She goes, yeah. I said, I'm just really surprised that you called and asked. She goes, I thought you'd say yes. But we had that tight of a relationship. And I didn't jump all over her. I didn't go, what are you thinking? That's crazy. It's like, no, that's something you do when you're a little older. So then she was, I don't know, a junior probably, and I came home from work one day, and she goes, oh, by the way, I skipped fourth hour today. We went to Sarah's house. We played pool. It was really boring. I don't plan on doing it again. And she walked away from me. I went, okay. It was that simple. What do you mean you skipped? It's like, but you build it. You build it when they're really young. Real young. And then there's accountability there. I've told you all when she stopped doing her insulin, and I told her she got out of the ICU, and I said, here's the rules. You're going to live if you live in my house. You're going to do your insulin, and I'm not monitoring you. If you don't want to do it, then you go live with your dad. Like, again, I had that the escape route. But it's like, you're not going to live with me if you don't follow the rules. And one of the rules is you will do your insulin. It's accountability. So you hold them accountable, you build the relationship. So you want that. So all the other, everything else, it serves as a backdrop for them to take risk, to take challenge, to face challenges, to deal with other interpersonal relationships later on, when there's a safety and a security in that there's not going to be a rejection if you fail. Do I like it that she lied to me? No. And she knew it. Because I wrote back and said, you're an adult. Our relationship is better than that. You will not lie to me again because you're hurting our relationship. So that's accountability, but it's not a rejection. So what we want is, if that connection is consistent and positive and characterized by warmth and kindness, that does not mean overindulgence. That doesn't mean they get to do whatever they want. Again, it helps even when they're very little, they're going to start pushing those boundaries because they want to feel safe. I mentioned, Samantha's friend Sarah, she didn't feel safe. There was no safety because she could do whatever she wanted. Her parents were very absent in her life. She spent a lot of time at our house. But you want that. You want to build it, and it's building in that accountability and responsibility with the love and the support. So again, it's high expectations, loving support, and fair rules. If you ground a kid, tell them how long they're grounded for. If you take away their car, tell them how long. If you take away their cell phone, tell them how long. Or tell them what they have to do in order to get it back. Tell them what your expectations are. So we want to go there. We want to set clear and consistent expectations. All right, let's take a break before we go on here. Okay? How long do you guys need? 5-ish? Okay. All right. I'll see you back in about 5 minutes.